silent auction going on in the background. In the back here, so please visit us. We take a little break throughout the evening with little reminders. We've got school starting in Gaza again. The Middle East Children's Alliance has started school making furniture out of
varsity.
The places they reported. If you listen to the news, you'll hear the press conferences and the words they choose to describe the facts on the ground in the Gaza Strip. You can hear the measured phrases, see the trembling lips, uttering words so rarely spoken, eyes open wide as one official after the other speaks of genocide. From the head of each department, you can hear the powerless pleas. The next wave of the carnage will be famine and disease. As the fighter jets rain missiles down from way up in the sky, as the tower blocks collapse with each mission that they fly, as the hospitals are targeted along with everything, as the cameras show us the apocalypse they bring. With no buildings, with no homes, when no structure remains, once it's all been leveled by the ships and tanks and planes, every medical practitioner around the earth agrees the next wave of the carnage will be famine and disease. As the Congress writes a blank check to facilitate the slaughter, Biden says he told them to let in the food and water, but they're not, and nothing happens but more destruction everywhere. White phosphorus burning, any skin exposed to air. Actions making clear that annihilation is the Israeli regime's plan for the Palestinian nation. If you survive the bombings, you don't burn or freeze. The next wave of the carnage will be famine and disease. Across the world, from Yemen to Algeria, militias on the move, from Lebanon to Syria, while on the Gaza Strip, if they have a working phone, they're trying to tell us all, don't just leave us here alone. Don't look away as this happens again, while this world still has Palestinians, because for all these refugees descended from other refugees, the next wave of the carnage will be famine and disease. I don't understand. I don't really remember. I've been too thoroughly traumatized by social media since its existence. I kind of forgot about everything that happened before then. But apparently there were holier-than-thou, preachy, know-it-all leftists before Facebook existed, because I wrote this song, so it must be true. Right? I don't drive a car because they run on gas, but if I did, it'd run on biomass. I ride a bike, or sometimes a skateboard, so fuck off all you drivers and your yuppie hordes sitting all day in the traffic queues. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't eat meat, I just live on moldy chives or the donuts that I found in last week's dumpster dives. Look at you people in that restaurant, I think you are so sad when you could have been eating bagels like the ones that I just had. I think it is a shame all the bourgeois things you do. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't wear leather and I like my clothes in black, and I made a really cool hammock from a moldy coffee sack. I like to hop on freight trains, I think that is so cool. It's so much funner doing this than being stuck in school. I can't believe you're wearing those brand new shiny shoes. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't have sex, and there will be no sequel, because heterosexual relationships are inherently unequal. I'll just keep on moshing to Anti-Flag and Crass until there are no differences in gender, race, or class. All you brainwashed breeders, you just haven't got a clue. I'm a better anarchist than you. I I don't believe in leaders. I think consensus is the key. I don't believe in stupid notions like representative democracy. Whether or not it works, I know it is the case that only direct action can save the human race. So when I see you in your voting booth, then I know it's true. I'm a better anarchist than you. I am not a pacifist, I like throwing bricks, and when the cops have caught me and I've taken a few licks, I always feel lucky if I get a bloody nose, because I feel so militant and everybody knows. By the time the riot is all through, I'm a better anarchist than you. I'm a better anarchist than you. That distinguishes what is happening in Gaza right now compared to the time of the Third Reich and its crimes. Against any decency, against any sanity, against all the children, against all humanity.
Let's talk to Dr. Brown about this.
From Auschwitz to Gaza, there's no difference between babies and fighters on that side of the fence, the side where they starve because the food is kept out by the occupation. No, there's no doubt where people are dropping dead on their feet while searching for crumbs of food on the street. From Auschwitz to Gaza, all night and all day, all the people inside just wasting away. Everyone waiting for death to arrive, shot or starved or burned alive, where each passing moment is punctured by groans of 1 million children as thin as their bones.
They're all so busy. I was like, I don't know.
From Auschwitz to Gaza, the outside world knew, and many lamented about what they might do, while their leaders looked for money to be made in the arms trade. Once again, just like this, profiting from the apocalypse. Auschwitz to Gaza, the stages of starvation are exactly the same under occupation. First the fat goes, then all the rest, the muscle, the marrow, the milk in the breasts of all nursing mothers, as in front of their eyes, their babies cry their last little cries. From Auschwitz to Gaza, under either command, all of the killing is entirely planned. Whether they call it a camp or a zone, it's all the same skin and bone. Whether they say work makes you free or humanitarian city, Auschwitz to Gaza, the political line, from occupied Poland to Palestine. Leaders outside will say we weren't aware of the extent of the horrors happening there. They'll shed a few tears and somberly then make a speech at the UN. From Auschwitz to Gaza, all over the place, the lies of the leaders who seek to save face, who say we would have acted if only we knew all that they claimed they really would do, and no one will believe at the time when some foolish person says never again. From Auschwitz to Gaza.
Yeah, we had the lottery recently.
I left my dear home in Ireland. It was death, starvation, or exile. When I got to America, it was my duty to go. Enter the army and slog across Texas to join in the war against Mexico. And it was there in the Pueblos and hillsides that I saw the mistake I had made. Part of the conquering army with the morals of a bayonet blade. So in the midst of these poor dying Catholics, screaming children, the burning stench of it all, myself and 200 Irishmen decided to rise to the call. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. They're all sing-alongs, by the way, if you've happened to figure out the chorus before the song's over, you know. March 'neath the green flag of St. Patrick, emblazoned with Erin go proud. Right with the harp and the shamrock, and Libertad per Republica. Just 50 years after Wolf Tone, 5,000 miles away, the Yanks called us a legion of strangers, and they can talk as they may. But from Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We fought them in 5 major battles. Churubusco was the last. Overwhelmed by the cannons from Boston, we fell after each mortar blast. Most of us died on that hillside in the service of the Mexican state. So far from our occupied homeland, we were heroes and victims of fate. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. The horrid sound of helicopter gunships, the rumble of the tanks as they drew near, as the world went about its business, and I burned another tank of gasoline. The Dow Jones lost a couple points that day, while you were crying in the city of Janine. Did they even give your parents warning before they blew the windows out with shells? While you hid inside the high school basement, amidst the ringing of church bells, as you watched your teacher crumple by the doorway, and in England they were toasting to the Queen. You were so far from the thoughts of so many, huddled in the city of Janine. Were you thinking of the taunting of the soldiers, or of the shit they smeared upon the walls? Were you thinking of your cousin after torture, or Tel Aviv and its glittering shopping malls? When the fat men in their mansions say that you don't want peace, did you wonder what they mean? As you sat amidst the stench inside the darkness, in the shattered city of Janine. What went through your mind on that day at the sight of your mother's vacant eyes, as she lay still among the rubble beneath the blue Middle Eastern skies? As you stood upon this bulldozed building beside the settlements and their hills so green, as your tears gave way to grim determination amidst the ruins of the city of Janine. And why should anybody wonder, as you stepped on board the crowded bus across the green line, and you reached inside your jacket for the cord? Were you thinking of your neighbors' buried bodies as you made the stage for this scene? As you set off the explosives that were strapped around your waist? Were you thinking of the city of Janine? County down, his family was given land there by the British crown. He was a man born of the gentry, born with wealth and fame, but he joined the British army to serve his queen and make his name. In the Napoleonic Wars, he fought in many lands, in Holland and in Spain, in the far-off Egyptian sands. He was wounded there in battle, came back to fight another day, and he was sent off to attack the USA. York had been sacked and burned by invading Yankee men, but the Canadians regrouped, chased the Yankees home, and then the British Navy made its way to the shores of D.C. town, where General Ross burned the White House down. The year was 1814. The U.S. was in retreat. It was a Canadian victory, an American defeat. Without the French to help them, they got their ass whipped by the crown when General Ross burned the White House down. The place had just been constructed only 12 years before, but it had to be rebuilt soon after this disastrous war. The president turned tail and ran like a raggedy clown when General Ross burned the White House down. He was killed a few months later. Irish rebels stopped him in his tracks. He was buried in Nova Scotia, in the town of Halifax. He might have been forgotten, but he'll forever be renowned. He's the man who burned the White House down. He's the man who burned the White House down. No hay beneath her on the ground. She couldn't hear her newborn's cries, with the bombs exploding all around. This baby Jesus lying in the rubble, a hungry little bag of skin and bones, with his mother Mary broken there beside him, in the place that they were calling a safe zone. Without a blanket, without a drop of water, nothing between them and the sky. The wise men from the east tried to come to see, but they're trapped at the crossing in Sinai. There's no fuel for the water pumps, only for the drones always buzzing overhead, reminding every child there beneath them, the next moment it could be your mama dead. There's baby Jesus lying in the rubble, a hungry little bag of skin and bones, with his mother Mary broken there beside him, in the place that they were calling a safe zone. He's the Son of God, said the angel, as the babe began to shiver from the cold. There was a twinkle in his eye for a moment before the rigor mortis took hold. This prophet who was born to save our species, this child who was the only son of all the tens of thousands killed so far. Now we can add another one. There's baby Jesus lying in the rubble, a hungry little bag of skin and bones, with his mother Mary broken there beside him, in the place that they were calling a safe zone. In the place that they were calling a safe zone. Gather round, I'll tell a story about a man I know, what he did across the ocean half a century ago. Death was raining from the skies all over Vietnam. Al and Clyde decided they had to try to stop the bombs. These two young men signed up to join the merchant marine, horrified by what they heard, along with what they They began to have discussions. They found a common goal. They joined the crew of the Columbia Eagle, and then they take control. The ship was full of napalm, heading across the sea to be loaded on the planes and be dropped upon the country to burn the skin off people beneath it at the time. They vowed to break the law to prevent a greater crime.
Actually, here's a hurry, third year.
They thought they'd spend their lives in prison, or more likely they would die. But Clyde and Al agreed that at least they had to try to sail to Cambodia with all the napalm as well, where it might remain forever, the bombs that never fell.
The fastest time without any mistakes.
They carried out their plan, and they didn't slip. Just 2 guns between them, but soon they ran the ship. They brought it to neutral waters by Sihanoukville, that these bombs might never be sent to maim and kill.
Like, part of me is afraid, like,
But that's not how it ended. The next thing that they knew, Sihanouk was overthrown. There was a military coup. Clyde McKay died in the jungle with so many of his peers. In a California prison, Al Gladkowski spent 8 years. The ship was not off course by much more than a bit. The future of the Folly, perhaps they didn't change it, but while the blood was flowing and most people spent their days maybe marching in the streets or just joining the rat race. There are those among us who can say they really tried, who did everything they possibly could to stop the fratricide. If you see a big white beard on the Central Eastern shore, he might be a mutineer who tried to stop the war. Gather round, I'll tell a story about a man I know, what he did across the ocean half a century ago. Zahid grew up in Pakistan, but he was very young when he moved to the USA. He'd often visited his uncle. That's where he came to live, out Washington Way. He wanted to be helpful to fight the forest fires when the National Guard deploys. So he joined up to serve and be just another one of the boys. It was after 9/11. Everything changed. He was approached by the FBI. He just wanted to be somebody living in the Northwest. He didn't want to be a spy. But that's when the trouble started, when he got on a list, and the trouble has kept up since then. Trouble crossing borders, with flying on planes, being followed by mysterious men. Then came the awful day in 2005, while training to be deployed to Iraq. On an exercise, there was an accident, and Mohammed Zahid Chowdhury broke his back. Life had taken him to certain places, and soon he joined Veterans for Peace. Now, 2 decades after he was discharged, his family cries for his release. He went in for his appointment in August 2025. This decorated military veteran, who doctors said would likely not survive, but instead of coming out with citizenship, he's been brutally detained, kept in solitary confinement with no medication for the pain. That that Zahid needs to take since the accident that left him in a wheelchair while his little daughter is at home asking her mama where is Baba? When is he coming back? If you ask ICE, no one will say. How can you arrest a wounded veteran and treat him this way? Zahid grew up in Pakistan, but he was very young when he moved to the USA. In every corner of the earth, St. John to Santiago, Kerala to Perth, all keeping alive the fantasy what could happen down the line when the workers of the world combine. You can see us gathering early in the morn. Some are celebrating the shackles we have shorn, while so many billions are just waiting for the moment that we might stop losing the class war, when someday we can all say, yeah, we're doing fine. When the workers of the world combine. Maybe it looks like May Day, like a festival that comes home and doesn't go away. Every race and gender, every walk and station, with the working class united, every land and nation. And just watch what happens when we follow the same sign. When the workers of the world combine. Of the year, on the 1st of May, known around the world as International Workers' Day. Miss Glenn, there were 50 houses here with parents and their children, but someone said they owned what those 4 generations had called their homes across the Scottish nation. Allotments kept on shrinking while the rent would only rise. One by one the broken crofters left the open skies, the frozen shores of Nova Scotia in a far-off colony, or somewhere else across the sea. Once upon a century, from the ways of old, from something like the golden rule to the rule of gold. And what's the logic of the market? Supply and demand says to drive the people from the land. Instead of eerie silence reverberating all around among the gardeners and shepherds, you would hear the sound of the pipes and drums and choirs of the songs that would be sung and the stories that were told in the Gaelic tongue.
Where you belong.
Once upon a century, you'd never think it could to turn into a field what had been a neighborhood. Once there were the promises of loyalty or clan, and then there was just profit if you can. If we travel back to a different time and space, it was possible for most to afford to live someplace, but it's the logic of the market, each investor's conviction. More money is just grounds for an eviction. Once upon a century, they cleared the highlands for the sheep. Most folks did not resist as the rent became too steep. They packed their things and moved, scattered far and near. You'd never know that they once were here. Just for the whims of capital, the biggest profits for the banks. You fight a war for empire, and clearance is your thanks. From the crofts of Scotland to the sidewalks of LA, if anything has changed, who can say? once upon a century, people lived above this glen. There were 50 houses here with parents and their children. When you work in 2 jobs and living in a tent, when a house costs $1 million and you can't pay the rent, when politicians say they'll help but it keeps getting worse each time the landlord lobby pulls the strings of the purse, when the human right to housing isn't even part of the debate, you know you're living in a failed state. When millions of citizens are spending half their lives locked up in a prison for trying to survive, when laws must be broken just to have a place to stay, when the prisons pay the senators to look the other way, if you have to be a criminal to put food upon your plate, you know you're living in a failed state. When you're facing climate breakdown, when the trees are all on fire, when half the country's underwater, when a climate change denier runs the nation, and the opposition party votes for oil rigs and pipelines, it's not so much a country as it is a corporation buckling under its weight, you know you're living in a failed state. When your nation is an empire facing daily blowback, and the only thing your leaders can think to do is attack, bipartisan consensus that we need to spend $700 billion before the year's end on a military budget to make America great, you know you're living in a failed state. When almost every day some psycho with a gun has to open fire on a crowd before it's done, when a music festival becomes a free fire zone and all they can say is it's okay now, he was acting alone, buy some armor, pray to God, and hide behind a gate, you know you're living in a failed state. You know you're living in a failed state. You know you're living in a failed state.
This poem is called The Zionist Can Kiss My Ass. The Zionists can kiss my ass. In any case, they have no class. They silence the world with cold, hard cash. Zionism is straight up trash. The Zios own the BBC, the New York Times, and ABC, which carry Israeli water for free and crap on the truth so shamelessly. Last year, Zios read the Riot Act to universities, that's a fact. And today they have a fascist pact. Any protesters will now be sacked.
You got your interview.
Anyone else you can criticize or publicize their dirty lies. The one exception, surprise, surprise, is the fascist state of diminutive size. Over there in the Middle East, where it doesn't belong, to say the least, it could never survive sans the American beast. Together they gorge on a colonial feast. But their project is running out of time. On the ever-shaky American dime, BDSM protests are having an impact. The cards against Israel are rather well stacked. The world supports the Palestinian right to return to their land for which they fight. They struggle and endure with incredible might. It's truly an inspirational sight. So join this movement for justice today. In massive numbers, we're here to say, on their land, the Palestinians shall stay, and soon they'll see the glorious day, when Israel shall be defeated, and long-awaited justice meted. To all of those who never conceded that Israel is a racist, violent, and nasty place, here is Hitler come back. You never could manage to fill the lack of human decency in this man. Try as you may, you never can. The same goes for all of his comrades from hell. They self-identify very well. They leer and they smirk when discussing their deeds, and the despair and injustice they know they feed. Bezalel Smotrich is Hitler come back. You never could manage to fill the lack of human decency in this man. Try as you may, you never can. It's sickening to watch the Zionist state play so psychotically with a people's fate and expect not a single harsh word to be spoken without any excuse offered even as token. Benjamin Netanyahu as Hitler come back. You never could manage to fill the lack of human decency in this man. Try as you may, you never can. In all my life, I've never seen behavior so openly, violently obscene, and so many of my fellow Americans supporting these unforgivable sins. Daniela Weiss as Hitler come back. You never could manage to fill the lack of human decency in this person. She's at hell's door. There's no room to worsen. It makes my skin crawl to see the news and the sick narcissism of Israel's views. It's a human's worst nightmare come sickeningly to life, to open the door to the neighbor with a knife, and a bomb and a gun, and a machine gun too, wielded by a people who truly believe they're fulfilling God's mandate by acting on their racist, paranoid hate. Each one of us knows such a terror so wild. Few of us didn't go through it as a child. Our bodies recall the panicked need to hide from a raging adult, avenging his or her pride. For Palestinians who are trapped in this way, childhood doesn't ever go away. For them, it's never-ending life in hell, a daily, ceaseless tolling of the bell. We on the outside can rail and cry, and ponder the senseless reasons why this murderous horror show must go on from the Western colonial devil's spawn. But it never can be made to make sense why some of God's children must live behind a fence, guarded by people deeply inhumane. Stop bothering to try to make it sane. The only thing that can be done is to stand up every day and shun and name and remember the crimes that we're seeing against the long-suffering Palestinian beings. A tiny blow to genocide with all of its harms is to gather those beings up in your arms, if only symbolically as it were, and say, these people are worthy and pure. I stand by them now, I'll stand by them later, against every Israeli and Zionist hater. Genocide is monstrous and always will be. The resistance to it can count on me.
For Palestinian lives and just everything that has to do with being in the right side of history. So today I'm going to read some books for y'all, and y'all can listen. So thank you so much. Alrighty, the first book that we are going to read is The Boy on the Wall. It is actually written by the Aida refugees. So we're going to start with this one.
And then she I specifically asked.
Once there was a Palestinian boy who lived in a refugee camp. He loved to play soccer, find turtles, and pick flowers.
At first they did that, but then the schedule changed. They put us back together. And it's like, I'm just worried, she'll retaliate.
He loved to dream in the direction of Jerusalem.
And I got really lucky that I think there was another resident there. That was,
One summer,
her
after the red and purple and white flowers of springtime had faded, the boys saw that a concrete wall was being built right next to his home. With this wall came not only the roars of heavy machinery, but also guards and soldiers carrying long guns and tear gas canisters, wearing heavy helmets and vests, and riding in loud army-colored jeeps with antennae that waved menacingly over people's heads. The boy watched his springtime landscape disappear. He wondered where he would play soccer and pick flowers. He wondered if turtles would also live in refugee camps. He wondered if this new wall between his camp and Jerusalem would stop his dreams, just as it stopped his father from going to work.
I learned to not speak up and to keep my foot down. Because that's honestly what I learned. Is that
The boy thought about what he could do to help his community overcome the wall, and he said to his mother, "Perhaps I will become an onion patch, so that when the soldiers throw tear gas, my friends can be soothed by my onions," said the boy. "If you become an onion patch," said his mother, "I will become the warm, rich soil in which you grow." "Maybe I will become a mosque," with the tall and beautiful minaret, said the boy, so that people on the other side of the wall can see that we are still here. If you become a mosque with a tall and beautiful minaret, said the mother, then I will become a muezzin with a strong and melodic voice who calls the people of the camp to come to the mosque to pray. That way, the people on the other side of the wall will be able to hear that we are still here.
Because then it can.
I will become a kite and fly over the wall, said the boy. If you become a kite and fly over the wall, said his mother, then I will become a clever little child, the best in the neighborhood at kite flying, and I will tie ribbons to you and fly you high above the wall, all the way to Jerusalem.
I think it helped me learn to work with more difficult personalities.
Or maybe I will become a mountain so that I can be bigger than the wall and see over it, said the boy. If you become a mountain and become bigger than the wall, said his mother, I will become a farmer and plant olive trees and tend to you and live from the olives you bear.
Well, it definitely.
Maybe I will become a young man dancing at a wedding, and I will lead people outside, and we will dance until our feet shake, the earth bring down the wall, said the boy. If you become a young man dancing at a wedding, and you lead people outside and shake down the wall, said his mother, I will become the pipe player who brings everyone together with my music.
I think she
Perhaps I will become a great fig tree in an old grove as I bear delicious fruit to the people of the refugee camp. My roots will grow thick and break apart the wall. If you become a great fig tree in an old grove and bear delicious fruit to the people of the refugee camp, said his mother, I will become the moon and shine down on you with the white, proud light. I will become a book full of adventures from around the world so that the children who read me can imagine faraway cities and wide open beaches and different ways of living. If you become a book full of adventures from around the world, I will lead you to your brothers and sisters and cousins and friends, and I will read in funny voices and tickle you when I turn the pages. If you become a mother reading a story, then I want to be a little boy in your lap at bedtime, said the boy. I hope you will become whatever you want to be, said the mother. But for now, I am very glad that you are my little boy. Sit with me under our tree, and I will sing to you of Jerusalem. And that is the end of the first book. When you meet someone talking big and thinking small, and their stinging words push you back against the wall, no matter the silly games that people play, you have hopes and dreams that they can't take away. When their words bite, stand up for what's right. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Some people need to be the pond's biggest fish. They don't speak the truth and only want their greedy wish. Remember to be true, the best of yourself. Then you'll be a friend to everybody else. Don't just sit tight, be a bright light. Do I have any bright lights in the audience? Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Other people parade around with their noses stuck up in the air. They strut about all puffed up, only thinking from what they care. But if you know the value of what life is worth, you will find your feet firmly planted on the ground. Love with all your might, be true to what's right. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Be a good neighbor and cherish your sisters and brothers. Practice being kind to yourself and one another. What you give in goodwill shall be returned back to you. Share your truth and compassion. Together there's much we can do. So now we see the light. We're gonna stand up for our rights. We're gonna stand up for our rights, yes? Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. One love.